Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough for Supa Local GUI. Basically, Supa Local GUI gives you a web-based interface to configure your local Supabase. Let's talk about prerequisites first. First of all, you need Docker installed and running, and you need a Supabase project with the config.toml file. Currently, Supa Local GUI does not support the Docker Compose setup, but in the future I may add support for it, and this is optional. You can make configuration changes without starting the local Supabase stack. But if you plan to restart containers, then at minimum the database container should be running. If you only need to make configuration changes, then you don't need to have the local stack running. So let's go through my local project first. Here I have an initialized Supabase project, and I have the Supabase CLI version 2.10.2.0. This is the minimum version of the Supabase CLI you need installed. And here I have the config file. This is the default config file created with the Supabase init command. So let's start the Supa Local GUI container. We'll begin by creating a volume for Deno modules. This will be used by the Deno LSP to cache the modules so that you don't have to reinstall them every time. Now we need to run the container itself. Okay, so let's talk about what this command is doing first. Here we have the docker run command. The backtick at the end of each line is used to break the command across multiple lines. We're mounting the local Supabase folder into the container. We also mount the Docker socket into the container. And this is the volume mount for the Deno modules volume we just created. Now, I want to talk about this environment variable, slg host cwd. The value needs to be the absolute path to your config file. So let me copy it. There are two options here, copy relative path and copy path. You need to click on copy path. And here, for slg host cwd, you need to paste this value. Now this value is not required. You only need it when you're going to restart the containers. It's used for mounting the volumes into the recreated container. Okay, so let's talk about which image version you need to use. Let's go back to the documentation. Here you'll see that you should always pin a specific image tag instead of using latest. Now you have to open this compatibility file, and here you'll see this table. According to your Supabase CLI version, you need to choose the version for Supa Local GUI. I've mentioned the reason why you need to do this. Feel free to go through it yourself. So my CLI version is 2.10.2.0, so for that, I need to use the version 0.1.0. Okay, so the server is running, and we expose it on 5000. So let's start configuring the auth service first. And as you can see, the UI is similar to the cloud dashboard. You can configure all these settings. I'll start with the templates first. Okay, so let's save it. Now the first thing you see is you'll get an indication that you need to restart the con container and the auth container. Now before I click on the restart button, I want to show you the configuration. The first thing you see is that all the comments are gone. I have a solution for this. If I go back to the documentation, environment variables, slg experimental preserve comments. This is an environment variable you can set when running the container to preserve the comments, but I'll talk about this at the end of the video. So let's first look at the configuration. You can see the subject was added, and the email was automatically saved in the templates/auth folder as confirmation.html. Let's restart the services. And that's it. That's all you have to do. The Kong container and auth container have been restarted. And we can verify it in Docker Desktop. And there you have it. The bind mounts are created. So this is why you need to pass that host CWD environment variable to bind mount the volumes from the host machine to the container. And if you're not planning to restart the containers, then you don't even need to pass the environment variable. It's an optional environment variable. So before we move on to edge functions, I want to show you one more thing. Let's say you have to configure a hook. First thing, this only affects the auth service, so now you only need to restart the auth service. And if I go back to the config file, the URI is set, and the secret is automatically written into the env file. And there you have it. So all the secret fields will automatically be written to your env file. Okay, so now let's move on to edge functions. Here you can create a new function from this button, or from this one right here. Give it whatever name you want. And from here, you can choose the template. So let's go with the default template first. First of all, you see you have full LSP support. If I click on cache all dependencies, the dependencies get cached. This is why we mounted the volume, so that we don't have to download these modules every time we open the code editor. The errors are gone, so now you have the full Deno LSP support, and you'll get the whole IntelliSense support right here. You'll also see now that you need to restart the Edge runtime container because you've created a new function. You can also configure the function, enable it, change the verify JWT setting, or add static files to it. You can also test the function from right here. Change the role or set headers or query params just like you have in the cloud dashboard. And let's also check the configuration file. And there you have it, your function. You can also edit the function name from right here. So let's say you want to change the function name now, from test function to some other name. And this will also change the function name in the configuration file. And let's also restart the Edge runtime container now. Before I press the restart button, I want to let you know that the health check for this container will fail. Now you can see the health check failed, but the container is actually running. Let me show you in Docker Desktop. As you can see, the container is running, but the health check has failed. Now, why is that? I want to show you the documentation again. In this network configuration section, if you plan to restart the Edge runtime or Postgres container, then you also need to run Supa Local GUI in the same Docker network as your local Supabase stack. You need to do that because health checks for these two containers are made by HTTP requests. So for that, I'm going to add this. And here, you need to replace the project ID placeholder with the actual project ID from your config file. This is the one. And that's it. That's all you need to do for the health check to work for these two containers. Let's restart it again. And this time, it passes because it is in the same network. Okay, so now let's talk about one final thing, the preserving comments feature. This is an experimental feature. It's an environment variable you need to pass when starting the container. Before I do that, let's reset the config file and also clear out everything else. We'll start fresh. So now all I did was add a new environment variable, slg experimental preserve comments, and set it to true. Okay, so the container's running with the experimental flag on. Let's go back to authentication. I'm going to add the auth hook. And this is done. If we look at the configuration file now, again, this is an experimental feature. It tries its best to preserve the layout of the configuration file. And if we look at the hook, there you have it. It is there. So again, this is why it's an experimental feature. You can see that a little bit of the layout has changed, but the comments are preserved. Okay, so that's it for the walkthrough. If you like Supa Local GUI, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a star on the repository. And if you have any feature requests or want to report any bugs, please feel free to open a new issue in the GitHub repo. Link is in the description. Thank you.